Good morning. Welcome to Queen of the Classroom. Oh, you noticed the shirt, huh? You noticed the shirt? For my podcasters, my Apple, Spotify, Google, all them. You can't see the shirt that I'm wearing, but the shirt that I am wearing it says Queen of the Classroom. So one of my colleagues, Miss Masood, she bought me this for my birthday, and I'm telling you, find friends that believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. That should have been the focus of today, but it's not. It's not the total focus, but thought I'd just rep it. And then it got me thinking, once I reach 200 subscribers, then I want to start a merch line. Few classes are really excited about a merch line, so we need to get this cooking. I need 200 subscribers, then I'm going to start a merch line. Think of all the possibilities. Like QOTC, Queen of the Classroom. Do not start class, hashtag do not start class. Hashtag 45-minute attendance. Hashtag not sponsored but should be sponsored. Which also makes me think when I first started today's filming, then I had my Chick-fil-A cup in the background. I was like, oof, not sponsored but should be sponsored. That would be a pretty decent one. The girls like to eat from there. So, let me reel this in. Today's focus is on your untraditional path, I guess, to your future. And what got me on this topic was I become friends with my students' parents only after they're not on my roster anymore, because I never crossed that boundary because it's a little icky. But I'm not friends with all of my students' parents. But the ones that I am, I'm starting to see some college acceptances and their plans for the future. And it got me thinking that I took a very untraditional route to college, very untraditional. And I wanted to jump on and tell you that whether your path is traditional, where you enter college right after high school, and maybe untraditional, maybe you take a year off, maybe you explore a bit, maybe you take some internships to see where you really want to start narrowing down that focus. But whether you're taking that traditional path or an untraditional path, then the focus of today is to let you know that it's okay. There is no one way to get you to your future. There's no one way. So I'm gonna give you a little background. Like I said, I had a very untraditional route, and when I started in high school, I started taking advanced classes because I knew that when you take advanced classes in high school, then it counts towards your college credit, which means you don't have to take it in college. That's pretty good. And you also don't have to pay for that class in college because you're taking it in high school. So that's double bonus. So you don't have to pay for it, and it counts towards college credit. So I took as many as I could. And then when I was entering college, then I applied for every grant, scholarship, everything I could possibly think of to get that cost down, because college is pretty costly. And when I was entering college, I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I was going to be public relations specialist for the St. Louis Cardinals. I grew up in the Midwest, so that makes sense. Grew up a Cardinals fan, and where I grew up, you were either a Cubs fan or a Cardinals fan, and that is like death on the other side. If you choose the wrong side, you get you're like, no, we cannot be friends. That's how hardcore it is in my hometown. So St. Louis Cardinals. And a large part of that was because it's always come pretty naturally to speak positively about a person or a company to me. And public relations does that. They make someone look really good or a company look really good, and they pick out the positives and they throw that out in the media. And my favorite player was JD Drew. It's very dreamy. So if you're listening to this, JD Drew, education queen, I chose my number in softball, number 7, because of you. And yeah, you were a large part of the reason why I watched St. Louis Cardinals. So I graduated with my associates. Your associate's degree is after 2 years. I graduated early, so I got mine in a year and a half in communications because I was on that path, right? Well, then I got married. I moved away. I had a job as a paraprofessional when I lived in New York, and I fell in love with that profession. I had a little guy, his name is Tom, and I will do a whole thing about Tom later, but wow, that kid. He was 11 at the time. You know what? Maybe we'll just talk about Tom now. He was 11 at the time, paraprofessional. So wherever he went, I went. Wherever I went, he went. And he has Down syndrome. I met his family. I'm still very close with their family. I've met up with him a couple times since teaching him. He always called me Miss Amy. I call him every year on his birthday. He scuba dives now. He's in his 20s now. I feel super old whenever I think about how old he is, because I know that I had him at 11. But just to see not like the light, you know how in some teaching professions you're like, oh, when did you know that you want to be a teacher? And for some people it's when I saw that light bulb click for my students, or when I realized I could make a difference. Those are all very valid reasons, and everybody's reason is different for going into teaching. Tom is mine. Tom, he taught me patience. He taught me strength. He taught me that being different is to be celebrated. He taught me resilience. He taught me bravery. And that kid is why I pursued teaching afterwards. And I just wholeheartedly adore that kid and his family. Great family. So I call him every year on his birthday, send him a card every year on his birthday. And he just holds a very special place in my heart. So I like to talk about Tom every so often with my students. So since I had that job, then I knew I need to go back to school. Well, after New York, moved to Germany, had Mackenzie, and then came back to the States to Illinois, and I started pursuing teaching. But because I was going in the communications field, I needed to catch up to where my colleagues were. So I did a year of community college. So that was my 3rd year now of college. And then I got to start in the teaching bachelor's degree for University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And they are top 10 in the nation for education degrees. So I did the year of community college, then I did 2 years for my bachelor's, and then they put you in cohorts when you are at the University of Illinois. And my cohort was C3. So we made t-shirts that said C3 for life, and I loved everything about that. I was the oldest one, so I was dubbed Mama Bear. That's what I was called, Mama Bear. And I think that's why I also tell my students that I'm Mama Bear and you're my ducklings. We don't question the science. I think that's where it stems from. So still keep in touch with a large part of that cohort. And I didn't mind being the oldest. I didn't mind. So when I graduated with my bachelor's, I was 7 months pregnant with Bailey. And then moved again to Colorado, but it was in the middle of a year, so I didn't teach that year. I did a lot of subbing. Then I located like which school, if you in the teaching profession, sub everywhere, because how the teachers treat you during all of those sub jobs is very reflective of the environment that you want to be in. So I loved that experience. I subbed all over the county, and then that way I knew where I wanted to apply because of the way that I was treated in those buildings. So if you go in the teaching profession, I would highly, highly recommend subbing a lot and subbing all over the place. And then you choose where you want to start your career. It's very, very helpful. So then I decided I wanted to get my master's. And I got my master's while I was still working and while I was a mom of 2. So I worked really hard. The reason I wanted my master's was I'm just forever a student. And I think a lot of teachers will tell you the same thing. You just want to be a student. You want to constantly learn. So I got my master's, and I have a master's degree in educational psychology and using technology in the classroom. So I have that. I also thought with this podcast, maybe that is my route. Maybe it's not the PhD route. Maybe it's the podcast route. Or maybe it is the PhD. I'm still young. I could do that. Here's the takeaway from today. I want you to realize that my path was untraditional, and that's okay. Your path could be traditional. That's okay. Your path could be untraditional. That's okay. I believe there was a study recently that asked elementary students, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a large portion had said YouTube or a gamer or a streamer. That's okay. It's okay to dive deep into your passions. And whether your path is straight to college, if it's to trade school, if it's to take a year off, if it is to not go to college and immediately join the workforce, that's okay. That's okay. There's not one correct way to get to the future that you want. There's no one way. And my path has changed so many times, more times than I can count. It has changed. And that's okay. You keep finding the path that takes you to where you want to be. You just keep striving for it. And you can get there. And it's okay to change your mind. It's okay. So I want you to normalize creating your own path and not judging people for taking a different path than you. Because that's their path. Your path can look different. That's okay. Basically, everything's okay. And you'll get there. All right, my ducklings. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you make smart choices. And please be kind to one another. Until next time. Bye.